Hello and welcome to another episode of Smart Pigs. Now, you've probably heard about the term parasites, and maybe you've even encountered it in your farm or in your human body. Parasites are one of the most hated organisms on earth, both in your farm and in your human body. But what exactly is a parasite? With me today is Dr. Edward Kariuki, who is a pig expert and a certified veterinary doctor. Karibu Daktari.
Thanks so much.
So we can start with an introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been practicing veterinary services.
Thanks a lot for having me on Farmers TV. You've just said my name is Dr. Edward Kariuki. I've been practicing veterinary medicine for the last 3 to 4 years. Most of what I've been doing is pigs. I've been dealing with pigs for quite a good time of the 4 years I've been practicing, and I've been able to add much from what I learned in school on a hands-on experience.
From my research, I've read that the role of parasites in the environment can be both positive and negative, which has elicited some mixed reactions among the community. There's some who love parasites and there's some who seemingly condemn it. For you, according to you, what is the role of parasites, especially in the animal kingdom?
In any ecosystem, the organisms that live in it tend to depend on each other. But as far as parasites are concerned, I would say they have more of negative impacts or effects on our animals and also on our bodies as well. Most of them are negative.
Now, many farmers know of two groups of parasites, that is external and internal. Can you elaborate a bit more when it comes to both of them and the key differences?
When we talk about the external parasites, we are talking of parasites that live outside the body of the host. The host is the animal that the parasites lives on. So it lives outside the body but feeds and gets a habitat on the skin of the animal. When you talk about the internal parasites, they live inside the body, so you can't see them. You can't actually know that they are there unless you see the effects or the impacts. So they live within your body. They feed either on your blood or on part of the food that you've eaten. So the effects are going to be noticed when you see slow growth rate and poor immunity. Yeah, so you won't see them physically.
And what about the different groups of internal parasites?
There are worms and there are also other parasites known as coccidia. When we talk about the pigs, coccidia are very tiny parasites. They inhabit the cells of the intestines of the pigs, and in that way they are not able to absorb the feed they feed on. We have the other class of worms, and worms we can categorize them into different types. They are roundworms, they are tapeworms. Yeah, so those are the two types of worms we'll commonly find in pigs.
Wow. Okay, so we can talk about roundworms. What causes roundworms?
All type of worms will usually ingest them. We'll take them either in contaminated feed, contaminated water, in the egg form or in their larvae form. The pigs consume them, then they go and develop inside the body, in the stomach or in the intestines.
And so let's say for me as a farmer, how do I tell that my pig has roundworms?
Generally, you find they are feeding, but their conversion is very poor. They are not growing as expected. When it is ruffled up and rough, and it's not doing so good, then it's a reason to suspect that you have worms in your pigs.
What about scaly skin? Because sometimes you find pigs which have very scaly skin.
Now we'll come to that in the category of external parasites, because that is one of the reasons why pigs have scaly skin.
Maybe we can dive a bit deeper when it comes to the tapeworms. Is it any different from roundworms?
It's very different from the roundworms in what they feed on or their effects on the pig. Tapeworms will generally suck blood from the pig. In that scenario, you find that your pig is becoming weaker and weaker. You are feeding it well, but you can't see it growing the way it's supposed to be. It's losing blood, so its immunity is also going down. It's suffering from something we call anemia. It does not have enough blood. It's losing them to the tapeworms. Roundworms feed on the food that is supposed to be intaken by the pigs. So that's a major difference. The tapeworms will stick to the intestines and they feed on blood.
You've mentioned the signs and symptoms for both, how a farmer can see whether it's tapeworm or roundworms. Must a pig exhibit all these symptoms or just one?
You might not find all of them. Something else that you may find in a pig that is heavily infested with worms is either worms or a part of it in the solid waste. So if you find that one tells you clearly that you have the worms. Some of the other signs are not very specific for the worms. They could be for other diseases, but it's also a reason to suspect, especially if you have not dewormed your pigs very recently.
There's a time where I went to a certain farm, and as the pigs were roaming around, you can tell that small, it looks like a thread at the back part of the pig. Is that a tapeworm, a roundworm?
No, usually that's a roundworm. The way tapeworms are, the body has segments, just like our finger is divided into segments. So each segment of a tapeworm cuts off usually as it grows. And this one has eggs, so this is what you will usually see in the solid waste or hanging maybe from the backside of the pig.
And what measures can a pig farmer take to ensure that they don't have to encounter this type of parasites?
As we said, parasites, you'll get them either by eating or drinking contaminated feeds and water. So number one, other than administering drugs, the first thing we prevent. So make sure that your feed and your water is not contaminated. The best thing of controlling contamination in water, like nowadays, you can use the water lines other than using the basin or the watering trough, because the pigs will often step into the water. You can use the watering nipples with a tank above the pig pens, and there is a water line that has some nipples, and that way you are assured that the pigs won't drink contaminated water.
There's some pig farmers who are not able to afford the nipple drinkers. What can they do?
Make it a slim water trough so that you discourage them from going in. And the same with feeds. Don't make a very big feeding trough. Make it just a slim so that the pigs will feed with their legs of the feeding trough.
And is it necessary to call a veterinary doctor when a farmer sees this type of internal parasites?
In that case, you are already on the losing part. Please call a vet every so often, maybe 2 to 3 months, so that they are dewormed regularly, so that you won't reach that stage where you are already having the losses. Yeah. So it's prevent, not cure. Rather than wait for the losses, prevent them. Yeah.
You've mentioned about tapeworms and roundworms. What other type of internal parasites are there?
There are hookworms, and there are also other, not actually worms, but internal parasites that will affect our pigs. And also, before I leave the worms, the tapeworms, the roundworms, the hookworms are of different types. And you'll find the different types on different parts of the digestive tract, of which they will bring different symptoms depending on where you find the worms. You can find them in the stomach, in the small intestines, in the large intestines. If you find them in the small intestines, you're likely to find diarrhea. If you find them in the large intestines, you are likely to see wasting. But as well, there are also other internal parasites. I'd mentioned coccidia as we were starting. Coccidia is a type of parasite that is very tiny. It's a microorganism, and it causes bloody diarrhea. That is the major symptom that the farmer is likely to observe. Bloody diarrhea means the animal is losing blood. It's going to waste away. It's not putting on a lot of weight, and generally it's going to be poor in terms of the appetite, in terms of immunity to other diseases, in terms also of general health. It's going to be a poor doer, as I was mentioning it. There are other worms we call toxocara. There are other worms we call lungworms. So about lungworms, they inhabit the lungs. Many people don't know that we have lungworms as well. And you'll find the pigs coughing from time to time. You might think it's a respiratory disease, but they are worms, in fact. Internal parasites are not only in the intestines. We also have some in the lungs as well.
What about, you've mentioned toxocara? Yes.
That's also a type of worm. It's a very tiny worm, and it's going also to feed on the animal's blood. And just as the tapeworm, you're going to see, you might find diarrhea, and all the other symptoms of not thriving so well, not putting on weight, and you might also find them dying if the worm burden is very high, and especially in piglets.
Even mentioning about piglets, I was going to ask you, or rather, you find that there's some piglets, especially when about, let's say, a few weeks old, you find that when they eat the diarrhea, a yellow kind of diarrhea. Is that due to worms, lungworms, or?
No. Some of them is not due to worms. In fact, very young piglets, maybe at 3-4 weeks of age, their digestive system is only used to milk. So when you introduce solid feed, they might diarrhea. That is a little bit different from the internal parasites. Internal parasites, you'll find them mostly after weaning. Weaning meaning getting them or separating them from the mother. That is after 2 to 3 months. That is when you find problems with parasites in piglets, and it's quite a problem.
Okay. Are there any other types of parasites, internal?
The parasites that we've mentioned, those are the broad classes, and in fact, in those classes, that is where you find different kind of parasites. So basically, they are those, the roundworms, the tapeworms, the hookworms. Those are the major classes. You just find different types of worms in the same class.
Thank you, Daktari, but we need to take a short break. So we'll be back with more on internal parasites.